We're exactly 1 month away from the general election, and tonight there is an important update about how absentee ballots will be counted. A court has ruled that mail-in ballots in Georgia will not be counted after Election Day, this overturning a previous ruling. A federal court ruled in late August that 17 Georgia counties would be allowed to count absentee ballots up to 3 days after the election, as long as the ballots were postmarked by Election Day. The Secretary of State appealed that ruling, arguing the lawsuit only named the counties that had traditionally higher support for Democratic candidates. And on Friday, the 11th Circuit Court ruled the Senate can keep its deadline for absentee ballots, which is 7 p.m. on election night. The court says voters have plenty of opportunities to vote. They can request a ballot 180 days before the election and receive them 49 days before the election. The ruling also states voters have plenty of ways to turn those ballots in, from mail, hand delivery on Election Day, or by drop boxes. In the ruling, the court found, quote, voters must simply take reasonable steps and exert some effort to ensure their ballots are submitted on time, whether through absentee or in-person voting. It goes on to say no one is disenfranchised by the current deadline.